While the grand tales of Roman emperors echo through time, a hushed whisper remains. Who were the mysterious concubines moving silently behind these thrones of power? What about the lives of the Roman emperors' concubines? Delve with us into the hidden chapters of history and uncover the stories the empire never wanted you to know. A complicated situation. Within the broad framework that was Roman society, the practice of taking a woman as a concubine served as a subtle and multifaceted support column. Concubines lived in a domain of complex power dynamics and delicate alliances, in contrast to the official spouses who were saddled with the hefty burden of producing legitimate heirs to the crown. Concubines occupied a realm of their own. They were mysterious figures whose presence reverberated throughout the annals of history. They were not only ornaments that adorned the imperial courts. A mixture of aesthetics, politics, and pragmatism was used in the process of selecting concubines for the royal household. The emperors looked for not just a captivating physical appearance, but also intellectual prowess and contacts in key strategic positions. The women who rose to this position came from a variety of different origins. Frequently, they could trace their ancestry back to noble families or even to lands in another country. This diverse composition served to show the multidimensional character of the social fabric of the empire, as these women not only symbolized the splendors of the empire, but also its interconnectedness with other lands. Concubines, in contrast to the official wives of the emperors who were primarily responsible for maintaining the stability of the dynasty, were given their own independent agency. In addition to being a friend, they were able to exert a subtle but discernible impact on the decisions that were made regarding the direction the empire would take. These ladies matured into more than just consorts. They were trusted confidants, political figures in their own right, and advisors. Their advice carried weight because they were in a position that allowed them to see the subtleties of court politics, alliances, and power dynamics. This gave them an advantage over other parties. While much has been showcased, numerous tales have remained off the record or unwritten. Today, we're about to unveil those untold mysteries. Stay with us to the very end of this video to discover what's been hidden for so long. It is essential to note that the concubines' sway went well beyond the confines of the palace. Their contacts took place in the magnificent halls of the imperial home, which served as a platform for those exchanges. Yet the repercussions of their presence were felt throughout the very center of Roman authority. The thoughts and ideas that these women offered to the table frequently had an effect on the decisions that were made within these sanctuaries of power. Their perspectives, which have been formed by their singular histories and experiences, have the potential to shift the power dynamic, influence the course of international relations, and even decide the fate of areas that have been invaded. In a culture in which patriarchal norms were rigidly enforced, the concubines held a paradoxical position within the social structure. In spite of the fact that their very existence was evidence of male-dominated power structures, the fact that they had a non-obtrusive but nonetheless significant influence demonstrated that these barriers could be crossed. Because of their position, the distinctions between public and private space, official and unofficial power, and even formal and informal authority were often difficult to discern. Concubines had the capacity to redraw the bounds of power and rewrite the narratives of history if they were able to successfully navigate the complexities of the situation within the confined spaces. In reality, the lives of Roman concubines were marked by a stark contrast between the privileges they enjoyed and the precarious situations they frequently found themselves in. They were embroiled in the complex politics and rivalries of the imperial court, despite the fact that they were surrounded by the lap of luxury and adorned with costly gems. Some concubines used their positions to advocate for the interests of their families or to pursue their personal agendas. These aspirations went beyond the concubines' immediate tasks, and they used their positions to their advantage. These maneuvers frequently fanned the flames of competition with the emperor's wives and fellow concubines, which in turn sparked tensions that echoed throughout the empire. Power and suspiciousness. The tales of Roman concubines unfolded like delicately woven threads within the larger fabric of Roman politics and history as they were told in the hallways of the Roman court, which was a place where the power dynamics were constantly shifting. Their presence may have been hidden from the view of the general public, but their influence was anything from covert. These ladies played a significant role that frequently went well beyond the scope of simple companionship, since they possessed a wide range of traits, including charm, intelligence, and strategic acumen. Because of their great intellect and insight, certain concubines were able to become more than just bedfellows. They rose through the ranks to become trusted confidants and advisors to the emperors, and they occupied positions that gave them the ability to covertly shape the decisions that would define the future of the empire. Their proximity gave them a unique vantage point from which they were able to deliver sound advice, offering a perspective that was unaffected by the goals of the court's more prominent players. This secret guidance frequently resulted in judgments that influenced the course of history for entire nations. However, the influence of concubines was felt well beyond the confines of the imperial rooms. These women were able to successfully navigate tricky discussions with foreign countries thanks to the influence they held over the emperors. Their proficiency in the art of diplomacy and cultural sensitivity enabled them to successfully navigate the perilous seas of international relations, which frequently resulted in the formation of crucial partnerships. In this role, they served as cultural bridges, creating relationships that influenced the geopolitical stability of the empire. In this capacity, they served as cultural bridges. The skill of molding one's outside relationships was not a simple or easy task. These ladies, who were experienced in the complex dance of diplomacy, held the reins that determined whether the empire moved toward cooperation or confrontation. As a result of being overburdened with the responsibilities of governing, the emperors frequently relied on their concubines for advice that went beyond straightforward political calculations. The comprehensive awareness of foreign powers and cultural nuances that these women possess allows them to be in a position to offer advice on actions that could have repercussions for decades. The capacity of the concubines to exert influence over the very core of Roman identity is highlighted by the fact that they participated in the formation of alliances and talks with other powers. They were the driving force behind the melding of various cultural traditions, which ultimately resulted in the formation of a unified empire. They did not rely on raw force to exert their influence, but rather on dexterity, intelligence, and diplomacy instead. In this sense, they served as ambassadors of soft power. These women demonstrated as a group that their roles as concubines were not, individually or collectively, determined by the shadows that they inhabited. They were stars in the halls of power, and the pages of history would be forever changed by the impressions that their words and deeds left behind. They traversed a landscape that was riddled with complexities and uncertainties with the poise of diplomats and the nuance of counselors. And as the lessons of history have shown, their influence frequently carried the potential to change the course of events, guiding the empire in the direction of either prosperity, stability, or even decline, inheritance, and the revealing of secrets. A significant portion of the lives of Roman concubines have been obscured by the passage of time, which has resulted in history being woven into a complex tapestry. However, pieces of their stories continue to be passed down from generation to generation, much like how weak constellations can be seen in the night sky. These pieces come to light in the form of priceless relics as a result of archaeological discoveries, pages torn from old books, and the threads of indirect historical tales. These relics, which are frequently dispersed throughout time and place, provide tantalizing insights into the lives, roles, and significant contributions that these women made to the complex web that was Roman society. Treasures that had been concealed for millennia under layers of dirt and stone have been uncovered thanks to the discipline of archaeology, which has been called the silent detective of the past. Artifacts have emerged to tell stories that the written word could not, and they have done so in settings as diverse as the grand chambers of palaces and the humble recesses of ancient homes. It's possible that a delicate necklace, which was formerly worn by a concubine, is a mute testament to the beauty that she possessed. An intricately carved ivory sculpture might give some indication of the poise with which she navigated the halls of power. The constraints of written language are overcome by these palpable imprints, which enable us to feel as though we are touching the past, even if only for a little time. Literature, despite its piecemeal nature, provides a rich source of knowledge and understanding. Ancient texts sometimes contain cryptic references and short comments that supply historians and scholars with parts of a puzzle that they must labor to put together. Ovid's poems, Seneca's letters, and Tacitus's chronicles are all full of metaphors and allusions that conceal hidden meanings that are just waiting to be deciphered by readers with the patience and intelligence to do so. These literary pieces are like hushed echoes from the past, urging us to piece together the narrative of lives that transcended the constraints of the written record. These echoes are like murmured whispers from the past, The lives of concubines can be glimpsed via the lens of indirect historical narratives, which, like cherished heirlooms, have been handed down from generation to generation. These memoirs, which are frequently missed by the big narratives of emperors and battles, contain nuggets of information that have been tucked away. There are tantalizing insights into the personalities, intrigues, and societal roles of these women that may be gleaned from letters that were traded between contemporaries, incidents that were recorded by chroniclers, and the whispers of court gossip. All of these things provide insight into women who straddled the borders between power and vulnerability. The goal of elucidating the lives of Roman concubines is not only an activity that satisfies our natural inquisitiveness, rather, it contributes to our overall comprehension of historical events. Their secret lives present a challenge to the conventions of historical narratives and encourage us to look deeper, below the surface and beyond the prominent persons who are traditionally portrayed as having the most influence. To honor the contributions of those whose influence extended well beyond the domain of personal relationships, we are on a mission to recover voices that were once hushed as we seek to resuscitate their stories. This is part of our quest to recover voices that were once silenced. The mysterious lifestyles of the Roman emperor's concubines encourage us to look back into history with new perspectives. These women, who operated in the shadows of power, had an influence that resonated well beyond their rank in society. Their lives perfectly illustrate the complex inner workings of power, the appeal of intrigue, and the interplay between individual aspiration and the course of an empire. By deciphering these enigmas, we are able to peel back a layer of history that contributes to a deeper comprehension of the overarching story of the Roman Empire. The concubines are no longer condemned to obscurity and emerge as vivid personalities who danced through the halls of power with grace and tenacity. Their untold stories are a monument to the enduring legacy they have left behind. By embracing their stories, we open ourselves up to a more comprehensive understanding of the forces that molded the world of antiquity